All right. Speaking of the Macallan, let's try the Bulleit Cask Strength.
So, on the nose. Oh, that's pungent.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional bourbon notes.
Agreed.
Oak, leather, tobacco.
A little bit of cinnamon, but it's mostly the drier bourbon notes.
I want to say that the only fresh note it has is melon, like honeydew. Like, I don't know how to describe the fresh note other than honeydew.
I could see it.
Because it has tobacco, it has leather, it has cinnamon. The only way to describe the fresh note in it is like a honeydew melon.
I can agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just worth noting this is what, 116.6 proof.
Yes. Like,
so, this is the strongest thing we've had tonight.
it's spicy. Like, it smells
And I was
spicy.
going to say, Bulleit is naturally spicy. Bulleit is a higher rye. Regular Bulleit is known for having a lot of sort of those, I hate to use rye spice, but rye spice kind of notes.
It is. And the entire point of standard Bulleit is high-end cocktails, and it does a great job in a high-end cocktail.
For sure. This is meant to be, this is what it would be if bourbon people wanted to sip on it.
So let's see what pure Bulleit tastes like.
Spicy.
Spicy but smooth.
Spice, melon.
Leather.
I guess a little bit of leather, yeah. And I can't say cocoa because the leather is what the cocoa is tasting like. So it's melon, spice, leather. And
It's almost like you're tasting the plant the cocoa is growing on.
honestly,
with like a mix of the two flavors, if that makes sense.
I would say that it tastes like if you took a honeydew and literally poured black pepper on it.
Very interesting, but I get it.
That's what I taste. It tastes like honeydew with black pepper poured on it. Maybe a little bit of salt added to it, but it's
spicy, but in the cooking spice type of spicy.
Yeah, it's not super hot.
It's not hot. It's not super. It's not like green kind of spice. It's not herbs. It's not cinnamony.
It's black pepper. There's a lot of black pepper in this. Honeydew, black pepper, and tobacco and leather are all I get on this. I don't get anything else.
I can agree. Yeah.
I want to try the Blender Select, and I don't think that the barrel strength does anything else from Bulleit enough props. Because I think the 10-year is better than this. I think the 10-year Bulleit is better.
The 10-year is also $10 more than this, so do keep that in mind.
I think that they blended the 10-year properly, that it tastes better than this.
I can agree.
Because this is very hot, this is very spicy.
I want to try Bulleit this, or Bulleit 10-year and this all together.
I would happily try this side by side. I've never been a huge fan of Bulleit outside of cocktails.
Right.
I think Bulleit makes the best bourbon cocktails because it has such a presence. But to sip, Bulleit is not good.
Agreed. The 10-year, I will gladly sip that entire bottle I have.
I'd put the 10-year at a 5. I would put this at a 3 or a 4. Because it's too hot, it's too spicy, it drains out any true bourbon notes.
I can definitely see where you're coming from with it. It's one where, again, I like a bit of everything, so I do like the spiciness that it gives, and heat isn't as big of a deal to me.
But it's too much for what they're trying to do.
I can agree to that.
Like, I understand what they're trying to do, but their barrel proof is... It's hotter than a lot of Maker's products.
And Maker's, the strongest I've ever seen, is less than this.
Maker's barrel proof is less hot than this. Like, with Maker's, the higher in proof you go, the less hot it is.
Now, I have to ask, 101 or this, which is hotter? I think this.
I think this is hotter than 101.
Just
I think I would take 101, Maker's Mark 101 over this. Because Maker's Mark 101 is like dry and it's hot, but it has a vanilla finish and aftertaste.
I mean, that's what comes from it being weeded.
And this is just hot even through the finish.
And then I was going to say, it's hot, and instead of being complemented by sweetness, it's complemented by spice.
This is probably the spiciest bourbon I've ever had. It's spicy, it's hot, and there's no differentiating between the spicy.
And I should add, it's not hot like a young whiskey is. It doesn't taste like a bottom shelf or like a craft whiskey at all. It punches you in the face with all of the spice and all of the heat.
This tastes like a solid 6-year bourbon, but it's spicy and it's hot. It doesn't taste like a 2-year bourbon where you get the youthful, yeasty, gross flavors. I would throw this in a cocktail that I wanted to taste boozy.
I feel that.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
I would not drink this straight. This would go into a cocktail that I wanted to taste. I wanted it to be liquor forward.
This is like something I would drink in a glass if I wanted spice, but not to the extent of a strong, spicy rye.
Because, I think rye...
And where I wanted to get drunk off it, obviously, because...
I think there's a lot of ryes that taste better than this and have the same level of spicy. Most of the flavor that substantiates this is spice. And I don't think that's a good thing. Because with a lot of ryes, I get spicy and savory. This is missing the savory.
I can agree.
So, again, I really, after tasting the Bulleit 10-year and enjoying the Bulleit 10-year, I want to try the Bulleit, Blender Select. But I knew I wasn't going to enjoy Bulleit Barrel Proof, and this kind of confirmed that I would not enjoy it.
Right. The way I see this one is, I'm glad I had it, but this is another one I would not replace.
Right.
But, again, it's not like it tastes like shit. It's
better than some of the stuff we've tasted tonight, but it's not terrific. It's a spicy whiskey. It's a very spicy whiskey.
Right. I was going to say, I wouldn't call it terrific either. It's definitely palatable. It's definitely I personally, given my palate and how diverse it is, I could pour a glass of this and sip it if I were in the mood for it and not really have an issue. Because I've been in the mood for stuff like this. And I wouldn't really have an issue because if that's what you want, it's not bad. Right. But that has to be, again, what you want. And knowing that you're on the sweeter end of things typically, I know this isn't so much for you.
If I wanted spice, I would actually opt for that redbreast we had earlier.
I can agree.
Because the spice on that redbreast was perfect. And yeah, it's probably $30 more, but the redbreast is something I enjoy so much more than this. This...
It's actually almost $50 more, just saying. This is 50.
This is 50?
Yes.
I would put this in a very high-end cocktail that I wanted to be spirit forward.
Agreed.
Agreed. Maybe this would make a really good old-fashioned, but I would have to try an old-fashioned before I can make that statement.
One of these times we can do that. I have the ingredients. So.
I want to experiment with this whiskey more, but I don't want to sip it more. And that's the best way I can put it.
That's fair, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad, but, this is definitely either an acquired taste or if it's not your taste, it's not your taste.
Bulleit has a fan base and has a fan base for a reason.
I don't like regular Bulleit. I would take the 10-year over this, but it's not because I necessarily super dislike this. It's just because this isn't... I don't want to... I guess the best way to say it, it's not universal. You have to either really want this particular flavor or really want what it brings in a drink.
And If you like Bulleit, this is exactly what you want. You will love this.
If you like the spiciness of regular Bulleit.
I personally am not a huge fan of Bulleit. I only use it in cocktails.
I was gonna say I'm not either. Aside from the 10-year, I guess it was mostly given this. I think I paid for $10 of it.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
But it's one of those things where I was interested to try it, knowing how Bulleit was, to see what characteristics it gave. I don't regret having it, but
this will make phenomenal cocktails. As a sipping bourbon, it's not great. But that's kind of what Bulleit set out to do, and they did a good job doing that.
The 10-year, I guess, would be their attempt to appeal to people who want to sip more than this.
And I'm not gonna lie, I would sip Bulleit 10-year over this.
Oh, for sure, same. And I have both. I think I would too.
And the only other thing that they say they would sip over this is the Blender Select, and none of us have had that yet.
Correct.
I would love to try it, but I don't think it's coming to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So.
But that being said, I mean, it is what it is.
Bulleit has its place. I have to say, Bulleit makes better cocktails than any other bourbon I have tried.
Mm-hmm. And aside from maybe Basil Hayden Dark Rye Manhattan, but you know.
Oh.
Only in that context.
Correct.
But I have had Bulleit in coffee cocktails. I've had Bulleit in old fashions. I've had Bulleit in random ass craft cocktails, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, Bulleit works. But as a sipper,
and I have a little pint of Bulleit for that exact reason, for whatever cocktail, because I know it's going to be good.
But Bulleit in general, they're not what bourbon sets out to be as basically America's sipping whiskey.
Yeah, they're catered to be cocktail whiskeys, not to be sipping whiskeys.
Right. I think the 10-year is the exception.
And that was their goal, is to be the exception. With that.
And it is. Bulleit 10-year is the exception. I would sip on Bulleit 10-year. Mm-hmm. It's not my first choice, but
if you were given a bottle, or if there was nothing else you wanted,
I would be incredibly happy with that.
Right.
I would be very happy with that.
Right.
But Bulleit Cask, it makes a good bourbon forward cocktail. And I don't know what they set out to do, but that's what it does best.
Yep.